I'd like you to join me in the knowledge within yourself that you are spirit. I am spirit. When we reach a point of inner agreement on that, we will be ready for our class. I do not believe that any of us is a different spirit than the other, and therefore we're really all cluing into the one self. I am the infinite spirit, the one spirit. I am the Spirit of God. Whither can I flee? From the one Spirit. It is omnipresent. It is unseparated. Where do I begin and where does it end? Where does it end and where do I begin? Nowhere. I am the one infinite spirit. There is no place where it stops to become me. There is no place where it stops to become my neighbor. It is I. My neighbor is the one infinite spirit. And I am the one infinite spirit. My material neighbor is not there. My material self is not here. Neither of us are here, for we are the one infinite spirit. Is there an acceptance within your consciousness of this truth? If not, you will not bear true witness to your neighbor. If there is, you are on the right track, and if you maintain it faithfully, you will find that you will bear true witness to your neighbor throughout the universe. Always your neighbor will be your spirit. Paul says that we have been given different gifts. Some of us can prophesy, some can do healing, some can do other things. I don't agree with Paul. When it comes to spiritual healing, I don't believe it's a special gift given to any one person at all. I believe 100 people in this room can do spiritual healing, and will, as some already are doing very effectively. Healing is the natural result of knowing that I am the spirit of the universe and my neighbor is the spirit of the universe. And when you know the truth, you are in the healing consciousness. And when you depart from the truth, you are not in it. It is not a question of a gift. That is, a gift that is specially just for you. I further believe that everyone should be in the healing consciousness. Because if you're not, it's a sign that you're separated from spiritual identity. Now, there will be varying degrees of effectiveness depending on other factors, of course, and one of them is going to be a simple thing called experience, which has nothing to do with your aptitudes, nothing to do with your unique qualifications. It's simply the fact that you've put in the time to do it. For those of you who have aspirations in this direction or feel called in that direction, I would suggest that you specialize and do only that kind of work, if that is the thing you feel called to do. What I mean is, don't try to have all of the so-called spiritual gifts, but concentrate on this particular one if that is what you feel you do best, or if that is what Spirit is telling you to do. Specialize. Put your time in it, and develop those spiritual viewpoints which are necessary in order for you to demonstrate the presence of the kingdom of God. Now, we have learned that healing is grossly exaggerated, grossly misunderstood, and grossly misrepresented. Primarily, it's because of the word healing itself. We think of healing as healing a physical body. And that should be, for all of us, the early McGuffey reader kind of healing. We should all be in the point where we know we can handle this type of thing, whether we're practitioners or not. And it comes only because you dwell in, I am the Spirit of God. The minute you leave that for 5 minutes or 10 or a day or a month, you'll discover that all of your healing capacities have vanished. Sometimes we get good practitioners who, for some reason or other, are called away from the work, and they're involved in other things, and they're not good practitioners anymore. This little girl who was a gymnast in the Olympics, if she laid off for 2 or 3 months, she wouldn't get all those perfect scores. It's the continuity of practice in this just as in anything else. So if you're going to be a spiritual practitioner, you've got to live in the Spirit. There's no two ways about it. However, there are certain things that will have to be faced. And one is, you're not going to have a perfect record. You're not going to reveal the perfection of God to and through everyone who comes to you. Especially if you think you're a practitioner. And more especially if you think you have a patient. You never have a patient. There is no such thing. I am the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God is my infinite identity. The Spirit of God is the identity of my neighbor, and that's all there is. You've got to find a patient somewhere, and you can't. If you find one, you're going to fail with that particular patient. Now, when you have a claim, It is your function to bear true witness to your neighbor. Thou shalt not bear false witness to your neighbor. And you cannot bear true witness to your neighbor if you do not identify your neighbor properly. I'd like you to know that no person can ever make a claim. In all the history of healing, no person has ever made a claim. And so if you try to heal this person who allegedly makes a claim, or that person, you've got different persons who aren't there making different claims that aren't there. You've been treating the wrong patient. And the patient doesn't feel any better for that reason. You're not bearing true witness. There's only one patient, and that's the world mind. It comes at you, and every claim that you receive from a person is being given to you by the world mind. It's your only patient. And it comes to you first with this claim, and then with that claim, and then with the next claim, and you think you're working with different people, and you're not. You're working only with the world mind wearing different form appearances. And once you get into the habit of recognizing this is not a person making a claim, you're beginning to know more about the spiritual reality that is present where form appears. Now, we're in a totally different element when we try to help people spiritually. We're in the place where you cannot afford to make mistakes. You cannot afford to let down your spiritual awareness and become humanly aware. That would be like a chef who knows the right recipe but doesn't use it. You must be in truth, and you can't move out of truth for the sake of human sympathy. Now, you know that many things happen in the healing work that are of an emergency nature. And so, from whatever experience you've had in calls already, you know that when the calls come to you, it's never on schedule. It's not like you arrange your day. Everything is always out of context. You've got a friend perhaps in a car waiting to go to the airport. You're to drive her. You put something in a pot and you're going to come back in a half hour and take it out of the pot. You've got one earring on and one earring off, and you're about to run into the car when the phone rings and somebody's having a stroke. It's never the way you would plan it. And always because it comes at a moment when you're unprepared for it, you're then in a state of, what am I going to do now? You've got this to do, that to do, and the other to do. Before you know it, you're in a panic. And you've accepted that you now have a great responsibility. You've got to get this person well. And in those 5 seconds after you receive the call, you break every one of the 10 Commandments before you even start to work. You break the knowledge that God is all. You accept the graven image. You use the name of the Lord in vain. You do not live in the seventh day. You do not honor divine manifestation, so forth. Commit adultery. You see the point then that in order to bear true witness to your neighbor, you must always bear true witness to yourself. Now let's take some sample cases and let's see what we're going to do about them. Let's take arthritis, and you have this call. Now, who is making the claim? Number one. God is not making the claim, and God is all. Who created arthritis? God did not create arthritis. If God did not create it, is it there? No. If it is not there, how are you going to heal it? So do you see, you've got to be in a totally different frame of awareness than just a person or a practitioner who received a claim. Now, we're not talking about mind healing anymore. We're talking about soul healing. Soul healing is without the human mind. And it's very different. It's so different that at first you wonder, am I helping that individual at all? Because you seem to be going the other way. Now, in soul healing, you have a different kind of thing. You're not trying to insert your thought into that patient's mind. You're not trying to change that person's mind. In soul healing, you do something very, very special. Now let's go back to the arthritic victim who calls you. Your first assumption is that that person is there, and between that person and you there is distance. There is no such claim. It is untrue. There is no distance between you and the patient, ever. Whether it's 5 million miles or the same room, there's no space between you. And if there is, you've lost it. You're bearing false witness. You're not accepting oneself. Oneself has no distance between it. And so we must eliminate the belief that this call came from a distance, or this letter came from a distance. Let's take the term that Joel gave us, which is beautiful. Let's take it and know that every claim is the world mind's white poodle. And all you can receive is the white poodle universe. The individual who sees a white poodle that isn't there, because that individual is separated from spirit. Where the separation from spirit occurs in consciousness, there will always be what is called a claim. A white poodle. Something that isn't there, but is there to the patient seemingly suffering from it. And now the letter or the phone call says, here's my white poodle, get rid of it. And that's when you say, I've got to get this person well, and you have a white poodle too. Which is never there. You cannot heal it because God never placed it there. Your function then in healing, which is the phase of bearing true witness to God we're discussing at the moment, bearing true witness to your neighbor, is not to heal your neighbor. Soul healing does not heal your neighbor. The mind sees the problem, and the soul reveals the problem is not there. That's the essence of soul healing. Soul healing reveals what the mind imagines to be there as totally non-existent. And therefore, if you're using your mind to do it, you're not in soul healing. You've got to be above your mind. You've got to be out of the world mind which presents the claim, or the white poodle is in you, and you're going to struggle with it. Now, the most common errors that I find are that state of personal responsibility, the belief in distance between the one who called and the one who is answering the call, the fear that something is going to happen at the other end if you don't do your job right. And to bring it into its highest level, the belief that there is something external that must be improved. There is nothing external if you are living as spiritual identity. All that seems external to you is only in your material sense. We learn from the healing work that it is impossible to obey the ninth commandment for any person on this earth. No person can obey it. No person can bear witness truly to his neighbor. Only Christ can bear true witness. So the world has failed to obey the commandment because the purpose of the commandment is to lift us into Christhood, to make us seek to solve the riddle of how to bear true witness to our neighbor. The goal has been placed high above our human level, and in order to comply and not violate, we must lift ourselves beyond the mental level of the so-called world, so-called patient, and we must specialize. We must live in spiritual identity. When I say specialize, I mean live in spiritual identity without opposite, not trying to wear too many hats. Now, if you still feel that you want to move in that direction, wonderful. Then we can go a step further. Now, you must realize that the claims are always untrue. No person in the world has a true claim. And every individual who is calling, the real self of that individual is already free long before the call ever gets to you. And I think the classic example of that might be Lazarus. Or perhaps even Judas. If you are living in spirit, you behold spirit, not Judas. You behold spirit, not a dead Lazarus. Now watch how closely you are required to live up to the highest ideal of spiritual identity. Your name is Christ Jesus. One of your 12 is a betrayer to the world, but you don't believe so. You do not believe that Christ can be betrayed. Secondly, you do not believe any of the 12 is a person. They are all the Christ of you. You are bearing true witness to the 12. The good ones and the bad ones make no difference to you. You are bearing true witness to the Christ of John, the Christ of Peter, and the Christ of Judas. Nothing can tempt you out of that knowledge. You are bearing witness to the Christ of healthy people and the Christ of unhealthy people. And nothing can tempt you out of that knowledge. Their health or lack of health doesn't change who they are. And so if Peter denies Christhood 3 times, that doesn't change his identity. If Judas is going to outwardly betray, that does not change his identity. And above all, the identity of Christ Jesus doesn't change because there are those in the outer world who would in some way offend or persecute his physical image. He is still the infinite I Christ. He is still the infinite I Christ of Judas and of Peter and of the Roman Emperor and of Pilate. He is the infinite I Christ of his own executioners. He is the I Christ of the thief on the cross. He is the I Christ of all who walk the earth, as you must be. And so when the form called Judas makes its claim that it is going to betray him, when the world mind presents this picture to him, that is the temptation to accept what the world mind presents. But Christ doesn't accept it. Christ is not concerned about being betrayed. There is no power in betrayal to the Christ. There is no power to cause pain or suffering to the Christ. There is no power to cause sickness to the Christ. And that's all you're ever dealing with is the Christ. You're bearing true witness to your neighbor. Judas is not there. If Judas were there, Christ would not say, now go ahead and hang me up. Go ahead and betray me. No, if there were really a Judas, Christ would say, let's get him now. Let's not let him betray me. Let's hang him up instead. But there is no Judas. There never was. Judas is the temptation of the world mind to present to us another identity than the invisible Christ. The Christ recognizes this, and the Christ is not intimidated. The Christ is not jeopardized. Go ahead, Judas, get out there and go through your act. Let's see what it's like. There's no one in this physical form that you see, Judas. I'm the invisible Christ. And this is the great teaching for all who would be in the practitioner work of this spiritual mission. There's no Judas out there. There's no sick patient out there. Don't let this world mind tempt you into that belief. And so, the thing we want to learn carefully is that in bearing true witness to the patient, we first have to bear true witness to ourselves. If you're out of focus, everything else will be. And so, practice this now with me. It's going the other way. We're throwing out all the rule books of healing. We're saying heal no patient. No patient whatsoever. Never heal a patient. Disregard Judas. Disregard the patient. Heal yourself. Heal yourself this way. I am spirit. There's nothing else on my mind, not a patient nor a sickness, nor an illness, nor a problem, nor a voice that was in pain, nor a personal responsibility. I don't know of anyone I have to get well. I only know I am spirit. I am the only, the one infinite spirit. This so-called patient is an idea in the world mind presented to my mind, and that's where the so-called patient is right now in my mind. That's the only place it's ever going to be. It can't get out of my mind. And right there in my mind is where I'm going to heal myself of the belief in a patient. This patient can never get out of my mind. Ever. There's nothing the patient could do to get out of my mind. Because that's where the patient is. It's in the world mind which is in me. That's all it is an image there. There's no sick image. There's no suffering image. I can watch all that and know it isn't there. It's an image. It's a world mind image. I've got it on the TV set of my mind, and that's the only place where it is. Now let's take someone we're thinking of and put them right in that TV set right now. And we're going to eventually see that image dissolve. We're going to divest it of all power. It has no power whatsoever. All power is in the infinite Christ of my being. Eventually the image dissolves. And as it dissolves, it's out of your mind. It's not in your conscious thought. You are now out of concern about that image. You are resting in who you are. I am healed of an image. I don't believe in human images. I believe in the infinite spirit. It is the only substance present, and it is perfect now. You may have to dwell in this pregnant silence for quite a while. Anything can happen. You're not trying to make anything happen. Now, if you will apply your 10 Commandments very carefully, you will see that as you move through them slowly, one truth here and one truth there will catch on fire. There is only the power of God, no other. What power is there beside the power of God? I'm not healing a graven image. I simply recognize it is a graven image without God's substance. I cannot use the name of God in vain. I is the name of that so-called patient. I'm resting in the perfection of the seventh day. I'm honoring the invisible divine manifestation. I'm honoring the one infinite spiritual body. And I'm letting the Spirit of God do whatever it wishes to do to reveal its presence, its perfection, its eternal glory. Do you hear the Father talking? Do you hear the silent sound of the inner voice? As you do, the healing is taking place. That's how you'll know. You'll hear the thoughts of angels. And that is the healing consciousness coming into focus within you. Until all your attention is deep within. You've lost all contact with the outer world. When you feel this, you'll know that you are being taken through the infinite kingdom. The fullness of the Father is permeating your entire consciousness. There is no place where God ends and a patient begins. All is the invisible Father. Lazarus isn't there at all. Only the Spirit of God is there. Judas isn't there. The disciples aren't there. The cripple isn't there. The blind man isn't there. There is no one there but the invisible I, Christ. The one invisible I am self is all there is. And if I can remove this me who is here and have the one invisible self alone here, my work is done. Can you crucify yourself while you sit in a chair? If you do, you will heal your so-called patient. Step out of the belief that you are there. In the absence of you, only the one infinite self is there. And this is the life of one who practices spiritual or soul healing. There is no me here. There is no Jesus here. Only the Father's Son, the Christ, is here. There. Everywhere. And unless I can realize it here and deny myself, I'm going to have a lot of unhappy patients. As long as there's a me, there's going to be a him and a her. Now, if you still want to be a practitioner, that's what you must make of your mind. You may have to crucify yourself 20 times a day. And be reborn 20 times a day until you get the feeling of standing in the spiritual self without going back out into the material sense of self. Now let's stop for a moment. There is only one way to handle the claim. There are others, many others. And we want to stay loose. We don't want to be in a stereotyped posture which says, I'm going to do this. We want to be spontaneous. We want to realize the infinity of our being. And sometimes you might find you take the claim instantly and say, Father, explain this to me. What is this, Father? Tell me, explain it, show me, and then wait. But always agree with thine adversary quickly. Recognize world mind is trying to persuade me that I am not the Christ. That's what the call's all about. It's not trying to present to you a claim of an individual. It's trying to persuade you that you are not the Christ. And the minute you accept that claim, you aren't. Now let's go into another individual. You can take any individual you want. And that is the same world mind presentation of a different individual. One creator, one perfect creator, one source. Its creation must be perfect. There is no other creator. What is this presenting itself to me? It is not creation. And so I have nothing more to do with it. Nothing. One creator is manifesting a perfect creation. Now let's eliminate the belief in a material or physical creation. There is no physical creation. Only pure light everywhere. God is running a perfect kingdom. Nothing has been overlooked. God is maintaining a perfect kingdom now. And while you are resting in the knowledge of the perfect creation maintained by the perfect Father, the world mind cannot further express in you. It cannot perpetuate that image through you. And as you develop this capacity, ultimately it is going to hit a stone wall in your consciousness. And when it does, that which you would call your patient is going to say, I feel better, the eyes will open, the pulse beat will return to normal, because the realization within you, which dissolves world mind in you, also changes the channel for world mind in the patient. That is because there is no distance between you and the patient. In the realization of one self where you are, that same realization comes forth in the one self, which is the invisible reality of the patient. Now we could take many cases of this kind, and each one will be treated a different way depending on that which Spirit brings to you at that moment. But there are basic facts that always remain permanent. And the one is that you're not healing the patient. You have no personal responsibility. You have a spiritual responsibility to be true to Spirit. Now, beyond this is the necessity for you to realize that healing the person is only difficult because the principles that you apply during the healing process were not applied in your normal living process. It's as if suddenly you're called upon to be something you weren't. But if you, and I mean specialize in being spiritual being, you find you don't have to go through much of the inner turmoil and inner changing and adjusting. It's just something you find yourself doing, and the call hits you at that particular level of consciousness without you having to go in and out and turn yourself upside down. Now, many of you won't be working at this level, but those of you who plan to will find that because you're working at this level, you're able to quickly meet your adversary and to know that this that comes to me is not a truth. This is only the world mind making a challenge to my spiritual integrity. Now I'd like you all to join with me on a real case. Some of us are working on a case here. And I want you to work with no instruction, just to get the feeling that you've just been called. We'll just skip the details about what kind of a case it is. There are about 6 of us working on one. We have an individual who is unconscious. Your problem is that you have been called upon to face this particular condition. I want you to make your own adjustments with no instruction.